All right. I'm tired. I'm angry. I think everybody should be angry. This is unprecedented levels of cheating and media collusion. I've never seen something this bad, this widespread, and it's actually so widespread that it's actually hard to quantify. So around 10 o'clock, basically they had called Virginia really early in the night, and that was a mistake because basically the votes hadn't been counted in Virginia, and they just said, "Oh yeah, it's going to go for Biden." And then basically by midnight, uh, or I should say, really, it was before midnight. It was like 10 o'clock. Trump is up by 300,000 votes plus in Virginia. It was unbelievable. I was like, okay, well, if he's 300,000 votes plus, and remember at this time, still places like Fox weren't calling Florida, and they still weren't calling South Carolina, and it was a total mess. But I was looking at this, and it was like Virginia. It was like Trump's 300 plus thousand up, 99% reporting. He's got it. There's no way he can possibly do it. And then all of a sudden, at about 2:30 a.m., Fairfax County just materialized votes. There's video. Good luck finding it now of just people carrying in boxes of ballots from drop-off locations. Fairfax. And then suddenly that 300,000 vote lead turned into whatever this is. Suddenly 400,000 votes for Biden. Yeah. There's not that many people in Fairfax County. So what happened? Well, bullshit happened. That's what happened. And when I saw that change at about, I guess it was close to about 2. It was getting close to well, I guess it was before 2, so it was about 1 a.m. I guess when that happened, and it flipped back to blue. Went from obviously blue because they called it to red by hundreds of thousands of votes, and then back to blue. I knew something was horribly wrong because if Virginia had been called right there for Donald Trump, which it should have mathematically, the election would have been over right there because it was becoming statistically impossible for Biden to get the numbers he needed to win in any of these states. It didn't matter. Virginia would have knocked out the need to win to sweep across the Rust Belt. It would have knocked out any benefit Biden would have gotten from sniping Arizona. It would have been over. And sure enough, that happened. And then look what happened with these numbers. And they keep getting more and more and more and more fudged. Something's wrong. Pennsylvania, right? Pennsylvania, Donald Trump was up as of last night when they magically decided to stop counting. He was up over 700,000 votes, right? And they had ordered them to stop counting or it wasn't that they stopped counting. It's just that basically the state stopped reporting the numbers for the counties in the West here. They still don't have the numbers because it looks like it's a dead heat over there when the Rust Belt in Ohio, the Appalachian area, went ridiculously heavy for Trump. It's a similar culture across state lines here. You're not gonna see that much deviation, but magically there is. Suddenly the Trump votes just don't exist. Philadelphia, early on, they said, "Oh well, we have 625,000 votes that we haven't counted yet." That's what they said early on in the night, and it was like, "Oh, well, if Trump's up 700 something thousand, and the only counties that haven't reported are basically counties that Trump's going to win handily, then the race should be called. That's it. Because even if 100% of Philadelphia, which statistically should be impossible, goes towards Biden, it doesn't matter. Pennsylvania's won." Nope. Start seeing statements from Tom Wolf and Josh Shapiro. First, it's 500,000 votes haven't been counted. Then it's 1.2 million, and now I think it's up to 1.8 million. And then when pressed on it, they said, "Oh well, the ballots went out, and we want to make sure they all get back in." PA Supreme Court, who's leftist drivel, said that they can just basically keep counting votes after stuff can just keep coming in for a week. So the Democrats are just going to fabricate it, Philadelphia is going to break something like 90% Biden, and it'll have a ridiculous amount reporting. And I'll be interested to see basically when they do number of registered voters, particularly number of registered Democrats versus number of registered, basically number of ballots counted. It's nonsense. And you know how I know it's nonsense? Because you can see videos from Philadelphia today. The poll lines were empty. Not just a low amount, Montgomery County, right? I'm in Montgomery County. Massive mail-in ballots and shit for, that obviously skew Biden. But the lines, the polls were loaded. All the Trump people came out basically to vote on, who hadn't early voted or mail-in voted. It was packed. The turnout was amazing, right? Philadelphia, no such turnout. There was no enthusiasm for Biden. When he visited Philadelphia, nobody gave a shit. The traditional black Democrat vote in Philadelphia, they just didn't dig him, right? Now, it's tough to overcome ballot harvesting, right, in a place like Philly, because they can just go door to door and essentially just harvest. Yeah, so there's that fraud to deal with. But it still shouldn't have mattered statistically. It was like, all right, well, look, if there's no turnout, there's no way every single person registered in Philadelphia voted early by mail and then is going to 90% break for Biden. That doesn't make any sense, right? That's what they're trying to tell us. And in fact, now they're trying to say they want to go grab that 500,000 ballots that were sent out in the state and not returned. Because there's apparently like 500,000 Democrat ballots. Now, which I don't even know if that's true because that's not transparent. Josh Shapiro, our AG, is a liar and a manipulator. So they're trying to fix it here. Wisconsin. Now I'm seeing somebody say that, oh no, the numbers are wrong here. Wisconsin, as the last time I checked, had more votes counted than they did have registered voters. Now somebody was saying, oh well, there's actually a couple more. It didn't quite work out. Percentage saturation of vote. It makes absolutely no sense when you look at number of who registered GOP compared to new registered Democrat, where basically the Republicans were up big time, right? The fact that the Republican turnout was unbelievable. More people voted for Donald Trump this time in each one of these battleground states by a large margin than they did for him last time. That should put him over, by far, It's basically Trump hasn't lost any support. He's only gained support. And you're telling me that the Democrats magically materialized the support from out of nowhere? After pissing off these places, after saying that, oh yeah, fracking's gone and your industry is going to be gone because we're going to get rid of the oil and your car industry and all this other stuff. The violence in places like Milwaukee, Kenosha, you're telling me the Democrats have a stronger standing in those states? Even by the most slanted polls, the numbers were still weird. It was like you'd look at like the way they were doing the demographic thing is like, oh well, we weighted it a certain amount because traditionally it's a Democrat state. It's like, yeah, but things were different back then. But now we know why in 2018 all the bullshit that happened. Scott Walker got kicked in Wisconsin, and that Gretchen Whitmer is somehow in charge in Michigan. And it's like nobody likes these people. How did they get elected? Well, they got elected the same way we're seeing this being stolen right now. I think it was at 4:30 a.m. Right? I was trying to actually go to sleep. I was like, oh god, I hope this is solved in the morning. I was happy that Trump made a statement that he was actually going to fight for a change. Somebody like Mitt Romney would have conceded by now. Somebody like Ben Shapiro would have conceded by now. Not that Ben's a politician, but he really doesn't know when it's time to fight and put up your freaking arms and pick which team you're on. You can't just be the moral arbiter and be like, oh, well, I don't like him saying that. No, you have to declare that you won because we won. It's just that they have cheated. And that is what the narrative needs to be. If you start pushing against that narrative by saying, oh, well, we guess we just don't know. No, we do know. We're seeing it right in front of us. Michigan, Wisconsin, triple digits. We're talking 138,000, 124,000. All of a sudden, at 4:30 a.m., ballots materialize out of nowhere for the Democrats. Just materialize. Oh yeah, Philadelphia, they found another dumped load of military absentee ballots that were, in the trash. Wonderful, right? So Michigan, Wisconsin, just overnight, 4:30 a.m., they just decided, oh, you know how we stopped counting? Well, we used that time to go find out of nowhere a couple 100,000 votes for just enough to put them over the edge so that basically when we're done counting, Biden will have a narrow lead. Yeah, that's bullshit. We all know that's bullshit. Anybody who's looking at the numbers honestly knows that it's bullshit. That doesn't just happen. A lot of people are trying to say, oh, well, Biden encourages people to vote by mail, so why is this expected? Sure, he did, yeah. You expect 100% of base, or not even 99% of 138,000 batch that comes in, that just is all Biden all at once counted. That's nonsense. And you know what the worst part about this is, that those votes actually might be legitimate. They might have actually been the votes that the Dems had counted and held, and the actual fraudulent ballots are actually the ones that they've been basically feeding the rest of the night, and then they decide which ones they're going to dump. Although from what I'm seeing is that the Senate race votes are not really tallying. It's just all these presidential votes, which basically suggests that massive printout and a really quick basically filling out. This is insane. This is why we need voter ID, and this is why I have absolutely no faith in our electoral process. Because in my state, I can't even. You don't need an ID. You can just the Democrats can just fabricate votes, and there is no way for any of us to possibly double check what's going on, right? Me, average Joe citizen, I can't say, yeah, those numbers look like bullshit. Let me see the ballots. No, I can't do that. Nope. The Bucks County, PA, the Dems have people. It were called like certified poll watchers, and they had like this like Keystone looking ID on them, where they were supposed to be. I'm not kidding. It was to look like they were from the state, and they weren't. They were DNC operatives, and they were walking up and down the line like they owned the place. Yeah, my cousin voted. Don't think I don't. Us freaking Republicans don't talk to each other, and we see this bullshit. Of course we do. We know what's going on. Of course, that we don't always know like what's illegal. We're like, wow, that's weird. Is that a state thing? I don't like it, but maybe it's a state thing. I can't really do anything. And then we find out, oh no, it's DNC stuff. They're walking around the polling place. They're going to places that basically regular voters can't go. They're acting like they're poll watchers. And in some cases, like in Philly and other parts of the state, the Democrat operative was the secure poll, what do they call it? Poll integrity or something. They had some weird name. They were keeping the legit poll watchers out. They're saying, well, you're not on the list. The poll watcher is, you're for the whole county. That's how that's how a poll watcher works, because they know that they might not get enough and that people need to kind of visit. Sometimes if things get busy, you might need two in one place, right? No, they just were, and that just occurred all day in Pennsylvania. Extra Democrat operatives on the floor of the polling places, pacing up and down the lines. I'm sure scrutinizing ballots that Republicans are submitting, and nobody did anything. Republicans didn't know, but it didn't matter. What are we going to do? Call the Attorney General? Call the state police? It doesn't matter. The governor's not going to send people out to go arrest these people. Local cops don't know what's going on. Excuse me. This is a ridiculous level of cheating. I was hoping that that 5% headwind that we normally deal with, that we would have basically a hefty lead because of our turnout. And we did. We got the turnout we needed to absolutely dominate. I mean, Georgia, they're still not calling, because basically, it's funny. They stopped counting, and they closed everything down, and then all of a sudden, Atlanta materialized another triple-digit amount of ballots to try to put Biden over the edge, and then they started counting again, and they had underestimated it, so Trump was still leading, and then, we stopped counting again, and they're going to probably start counting sometime later today, and magically the extra votes are going to appear. Arizona, they called that early in the night. Why? And now, of course, what's going on in Vegas and Reno. Or it's not, I'm sorry, Vegas is Nevada. In Phoenix and all these other areas. Oh, just boxes of stuff are materializing. Just like with cinema, all these absentee ballots just came out of nowhere at the last second, right? Arizona's red. The votes that are coming in are basically tipping. I think it's something like 3-1 or something, or like 65% minimum in these counties going for Trump. He should have it. They should be calling it, but no. Arizona's staggering it because they're injecting little bits of extra extra votes into the mix, so basically Biden's going to get that edge. It's fraud. It's fraud. It's the same thing they did for cinema. They held things up for a couple days, and then it was only probably about a day and a half, right? And then all of a sudden, cinema magically had the votes she needed. Oops. Let me mute that. Absolute ridiculous level of fraud. Minnesota, with that ballot harvesting that was going on with Ilhan Omar and all the crap going on in Minneapolis, was that ever followed up on by their AG or even by the feds? Like, was anything done by the FBI? No. So you think those votes are legitimate? You think the majority of Ilhan Omar's her 69% landslide in there? You think those are legitimate? Of course not. And you know what comes with the Ilhan Omar votes? Joe Biden votes, and she ain't the only one doing it. They should be going in and they should be throwing out every single ballot cast for Ilhan Omar until it can be basically proven that this person came in and did not do it under basically being bribed. All the mail-in stuff, they should just throw it out. They should just throw out the mail-in votes. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that they can mail in and ballot harvest and all this other stuff. It turns voting into a petition rather than something you have to go and do. The people who showed up on voting day in nearly every single state, the people who actually did the work, registered, showed up. Of course, we don't got to show ID. Trump in almost every state except for, you could argue, probably your Vermonts and your New Yorks and your, I guess if you want to count Seattle, well, who the hell knows what's going on there, right? Cities burning down, yet somehow they've got the infrastructure to, get all their counts in and do all this stuff, right? This is ridiculous. This is unbelievable. I thought that Trump having this much of basically of a voter lead, where he's getting, 700,000 plus in Pennsylvania, he's getting millions and millions and millions of votes more in different areas than he did. He won Florida by now they're saying it's 3.5 points. It's actually should be higher than that probably, if you count the BS that occurs in like Orlando and shit, right? But Texas. Veritas is dropping videos today. Texas, they were buying votes. They were doing exactly the same thing that they were doing up in Minnesota. And you saw me do a video before talking about basically the fact that they were using literally foreign labor, like they're having Australians caucus and shit for them, like doing online stuff. So the money's coming in from overseas. They had absolutely no problem cheating, the Democrats in Texas, and they still got absolutely smashed. Look at that, right? But that was close. That was way closer than it had any business being. I mean, look at the amount that Trump flipped for the Latino votes, right? Latino vote, black vote, the amount he flipped. They would have said, if they had said 4 years ago, basically, if Trump got that percentage, if basically or any Republican was going to get that percentage of the Latino vote, or even just get that number of Latinos out voting for them, it would be insurmountable for any Democrat to oppose them. That's actually one of the reasons George Bush won in 2004. He actually polled very well with Latinos, and that pretty much put him over the edge in all places that matter. That took Florida out of play, right? But this time, suddenly, despite Trump getting millions more votes than he ever has, doing better with every single minority demographic that he could have possibly done better with. I think maybe black women, technically, he doesn't do that well with. All of a sudden, now, just hundreds of thousands of votes are just materializing. This is theft. This is fraud. This is... I hope Trump fights this to the death. I hope he doesn't step down. I hope it is an absolute nightmare for the Democrats for trying to pull this nonsense. I've never felt this. It's a weird mix of despair, but also like sheer rage that seeing what's going on, right? New Hampshire, Trump was up in New Hampshire for majority of the night, and then all of a sudden, boom, ballots drop in about I think 2:30 in the morning, and then New Hampshire's called. Trump leading all night by triple digits, or not sure, I guess it was 6 digits. He's leading, and then all of a sudden, just boom, all of a sudden. We're counting mail in early. Just whatever the excuse is, they just find the balance. Jersey, Trump didn't even have a chance in Jersey. Like, what the hell's going on here? You mean to tell me the Democrats, after the way they've treated New Jersey with the lockdown, you mean to tell me that 61% of them are like, yes, Daddy, more please? I mean, I believe that for California, but I know people from New Jersey. This doesn't make any sense. South Jersey, it's nothing but Trump signs. So pretty much, you move from freaking Newark down, it's just Trump, 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 Trump all the way. And all those people are out in force voting today. Yet somehow there's a 700,000 vote lead in New Jersey, despite them throwing gym owners and stuff in jail. I don't know. Maybe North Jersey is just that insane. Maybe they're just like a little New York City, all the bad with it. Maybe join them together to be a state, free the rest of New York up, and Southern Jersey. I mean, it was like Maryland, Delaware. Oh, okay, yeah, I expect that. That's a little high, but also is it basically Maryland's just the D.C. metro area extended, and I feel bad for the coastal people on the farms because they're just basically eating shit because D.C. is there. It does, like Colorado, we expected to lose. Here's one of the killers. So not only did Trump outperform in terms of sheer numbers of people coming out to vote for him, also the Senate and the House both outperformed. They expected that they were going to either lose or wash in the House, and then that the Senate was what they were going to fight to survive with, right? And what happened in the Senate? Technically, I think it's +1, but also that's because there's more bullshittery going on in Michigan and Wisconsin, right? So the Dems were +1, and it wasn't nearly enough. Basically, like the rest of the country, the Senate races and the House races, those all went really heavily red. It doesn't make any sense why even in these states where suddenly, like, all of a sudden there was a Dem surge, because they just, North Carolina, they still keep calling North Carolina back. Trump again, he was up by 6 digits in North Carolina, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh wait, we got more stuff to count. We have after they stop the count and then they start the count, and then look, we just found another 50,000 ballots for Biden, or here's it's ridiculous. And then on top of that, they're finding, basically, because the Republicans aren't wasting their time as much either. They're just tired. But, they're finding, ballots in the trash in Philadelphia that were military absentee ballots, which obviously skew heavily Trump. Arizona, they're finding, entire Trump counties, basically precincts, were just thrown out because they gave them Sharpies instead of ballpoint pens. Now, those electronic machines, it's very similar to the ones I use in my precinct, and we use Sharpies. We don't use ballpoint pens. So either Arizona's full of crap, but I've actually heard that it is an ink issue, and now I'm wondering, I'm like, wait a minute. So last time we used these machines, and the machines had a problem, and then they had to count them by hand, and the Democrats swept. This time, they've got all that mail ballots, that are counted by hand, and then they've given us the electronic ones where all the Trump people are showing up to vote, and it's got Sharpies, and we have absolutely no receipt, no way to know whether the vote was counted properly or discarded. I have no way of telling you with confidence that my vote was counted. That's disturbing. That should be disturbing for anybody. And this is not an election. This is Banana Republic. This is nonsense. This is the media and the AGs and the basically the poll complex deciding what the outcome is. Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Do I have a way to verify whether my vote was counted in Pennsylvania? Nope. Do I have a way to verify that this 1.8 million outstanding votes that suddenly materialized at this morning that they were talking about are legitimate? Do I have a way to determine whether people in PA submitted absentee ballots or had mail-in ballots submitted in their name and then voted in person, and then that wasn't somehow canceled? No, I don't. In fact, this time, you know how there's normally the big posting for absentee ballots and stuff? I talked about that before. If you're supposed to send an absentee ballot, and it's supposed to tell you who the absentee ballotees are, right? So next time they tell you that they found a couple hundred absentee ballots in your swing county, And you remember going to your poll station and seeing like 15 and being on the list and being like, wait a minute. Where was, you mean these weren't on the list already? They did that in Arizona. They just said, oh, look, absentee ballots came in out of nowhere. Really? Really? And that's the thing. They've made it now legal to receive these things after the date. So instead of them scrambling election night to cheat, they can just stop the count, fabricate what they need, and then pump it into the system. What we're seeing in Wisconsin, what we're seeing in Michigan, what we're seeing in Pennsylvania happen right now, what we're seeing in Arizona happen right now, what we're seeing in Nevada happen right now, and what we're going to probably see in Georgia and North Carolina if for some reason they say, okay, well, we give up on Pennsylvania because it's insurmountable. You'll see North Carolina flip or something, or Georgia. All of a sudden, Atlanta is going to just discover, all these absentee ballots out of nowhere that just happen to be 95% Biden. And, they didn't really vote for the Senate or anything else. They were, it looks like they were filled out in a hurry. Ignore that. This is frustrating. This is not what democracy looks. This is not democracy. This is a joke. This is an absolute joke. And you know the things that could fix it? Get rid of the mail-in ballot bullshit. Fix the absentee ballot system so that basically stuff can't be submitted after the fact, and also that it's way more robust. Give us a goddamn receipt when we vote so we know that not only was our vote counted, there was no problems, and we know who it counted towards. That's not that hard. Oh, yeah, but people do it in paper. All the shit's electronic. All the counting is electronic. You feed it through electronic. Why can it not give you a receipt? Was it Atlanta? Oh, we had a water pipe break in it was like the convention center and it's like, well, how bad was the water pipe break? Was it like a water main break or just like a water fountain? Oh, I don't know, but it delayed things 4 hours. Bullshit. Even if it was like one in the bathroom and that was the bathroom they were going to use, it's a convention center. There's bathrooms everywhere. You have to walk a little further. Total bullshit. And what that was so that they could basically fabricate the votes. They're supposed to call the cities early because what happened, what typically is what was supposed to happen, is that the cities report first because the cities have the personnel. The cities, they are starting the count first, and the rural counties, they're just going to be slower. They have less personnel. Yeah, the numbers are sometimes smaller, but particularly in a place like Western PA, where we've got record Trump turnout numbers, it's going to be slower reporting because they usually don't have the amount of personnel. I mean, my county, Montgomery County, the lady who was running the poll, she was complaining. She's like, I wish I had known that there was, going to be this many people. I would have hired 4 more people. And literally, they took all of our districts, South 1, South 2, North 1, North 2, and they jammed them all together in an abandoned elementary school for the children. And she didn't expect that it was going to be a shit show. I waited in line for an hour, and I was lucky. The rest of my family was like 2.5 hours waiting. And other people from but us Trump people, we fucking did it. We stayed there. But, that's where you expect there to be the delay is in places that are underprepared. The cities, they've got election people at the ass. Like Philadelphia, the fact they don't have their count in, you got to be shitting me. Nobody showed up today in Philadelphia. They should have been done the count. They should have been done their basically absentee early vote count by what, like 10 o'clock last night at the latest? They had nobody to count. Nobody showed up to do it. Instead, they're like, oh, yeah, no, we somehow haven't counted 625,000. Okay, well, it's actually 1.8 million. Bullshit. And this is disgusting. And we have to fight this any way we can. We cannot accept this result, because if we accept this result, we surrender to their bullshit. We cannot win under these conditions unless they let us. He won in 2016 because they underestimated how much they needed to cheese the numbers, and we should have seen that was happening with some of the places. Basically, with the fact that some of these places were as close as they were. Florida, as close as that was, it really shouldn't have probably been that close. Georgia, same thing. 2018, what happened, right? They poured billions of dollars into Georgia, Texas, trying to basically put Stacey Abrams in and put Beto O'Rourke in 2018, right? And they failed. But why did they fail? They failed because they didn't do enough fraud to overcome what was happening. Now, this election, where the numbers compared for basically Republican turnout in 2018 compared to now, it's ridiculous the amount of more Republicans who showed up, right? And 2018, that was the whole referendum on Trump shit, right? That was when the Democrats should have been motivated to come out. And yeah, an election year with a presidential year, you kind of expect a little bit of more of a turnout, unless the candidate really sucks, which Biden sucks. But okay, I'll give you it's going to be a little higher, but it should have been completely insurmountable with the fact that basically the Trump people came back out this time in force. I mean, Trump goes in. He goes in with all the keys to the White House. Foreign policy victories, 47, 48% approval rating, basically banging economy record. Is this really the freaking the COVID? The Chinese do that shit, and then the Democrats push the Chinese line the whole time so that they can get basically this mail-in ballot shit in, so that they can commit massive amounts of voter fraud. We never should have even entertained the idea of mail-in ballots. Never should have entertained it. Period. The fact we let them do that at all was a mistake. Because as far as I'm concerned, they're invalid. There's too much bullshittery occurring. It's nonsense. How many more Biden supporters were there than Clinton supporters last time? How many more? Because even if you added in all the Bernie bros who stayed home last time, and then accounted for basically the young generation being stupid, the Trump turnout was so much more. It should have been statistically insurmountable, and the fact that we're even debating the fact that somehow these magically hundreds of thousands of votes are materializing in Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia last night, Arizona, Nevada. And they're stopping the count. Oh, Trump suddenly is up by 30,000 votes. Stop the count right now. And then we have to fight, and we have to fight this with every single means we can. We should not be conceding this election. We should not be conceding a single goddamn state. We should not concede Virginia. We should not concede New Hampshire. We should not concede Maine, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, obviously. We need to challenge them every place. Minnesota as well. You tell me all that ballot harvesting and illegal shit that was going on in Minneapolis didn't have a greater effect on the state's vote overall? Right? You mean that was never addressed, and then we're going to factor those votes into Biden's count? That's not democracy. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And we should not stand for it. So whatever. I'm pissed off, and this fight's going to be drug out for probably weeks. And thank God ACB's on the Supreme Court. That still might not save us if the attorneys are too chicken shit. Arizona Republican Party, I don't trust them at all. PA Republican Party, I don't trust them at all. Virginia Republican Party, who the hell knows what's going on with them, right? Wisconsin, They didn't challenge the bullshit that happened in 2018. What makes me think they have the resources to do it this time? This time, at least, President Trump is dropping some leadership on it. So maybe we'll be okay. But this is so much legal territory to have to defend. This is such widespread cheating. It's impossible to quantify. I mean, I can only hope that we get a judge who has a brain, who realizes that when 100,000 plus votes are just dropped out of nowhere with zero from Trump for Trump, and they're all of them for Biden. Yeah, those are probably fraudulent, and we should not be calling states right now. Whatever. I'm pissed, and I think you should be too, because this is ridiculous. And social media is censoring the complaints. They're saying it's conspiracy theories. It's not. I can look at the numbers. I can see the bullshit that's occurring. This is ridiculous. This is just we're going to lose our country to China if this bullshit happens, because the CCP and the DNC are basically the same thing at this point. And I don't see this is going to somehow devolve into conflict or just the total destruction of the republic if this continues, because we do not have elections right now. We have whatever you want to call this. We have the media deciding our elections. Basically, there's fraud? We're not going to tell you. We're not going to let you even talk about it on Twitter or on Facebook or on Google+. platforms. I'm not gonna put hashtags for voter fraud in this, because then it'll just get buried completely. Although, good luck having anybody see this. Whatever. Keep fighting. They're gonna try to pull this bullshit in Alaska too. You wait and see. Oh, look at that. See, how is it 62% with 50,000 votes almost? Well, yeah, ahead, more than that, of in Alaska, and then they're still saying, oh, too close to call. It's got the little scratch marks on it. Yeah, you tell me the candidate who wants to end the oil industry, Alaska is going to vote for them. It's preposterous. I'm not saying everybody has to like Trump, but the idea that Biden somehow gets this level of support from any of these areas is ridiculous. Is absolutely ridiculous, especially when you see that basically he had to outperform Trump's numbers, which were so much better than last time. It's how they're saying, oh, more people voted or more ballots were cast or something. It's like, no, it's bullshit. We know it's bullshit. That amount of Democrats between 2016, even between 2018 and now, didn't suddenly materialize in these states. It didn't happen. Every demographic Trump gained. How is that possible? And then suddenly, I guess just was it every dead Democrat? Did they pull out all the stops? It's not mathematically possible what we're seeing. So whatever, we got a fight ahead of us. Don't give up. You concede it, because even if you lose, you got to at least fight to the freaking end, because this is ridiculous, and we can't survive this if this is how things keep going. So